Hello and welcome to Chanakyaa English. For our exclusive interview today, we have a very special guest. Many of our viewers may have already seen her in many platforms, and she is a doctor, an anatomist. She also talks about a lot of religious texts, and many of us have looked up to her as a teacher. We've known her very well through the embalming of our former Chief Minister Jayalalitha, and also she has been the former Vice Chancellor of MGR Medical University. Let's welcome today Miss Dr. Sudha Seshayyan. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you and wishes to you.
Thank you, ma'am. It is a pleasure to have you on our show today. And, ma'am, I guess this is a very common trend that when we see you, the first question that pops up for us is you're a doctor, and also you go into a completely 360-degree and you talk about religious texts. So I know you have a younger age adaptation to all these Puranas, but how do you balance yourself to make sense out of this and that at the same time?
See, this is one question that I had been facing for quite some time.
Yes.
And there are a lot of people who think science and spirituality, I would call it spirituality, not religiosity.
Okay.
Science and spirituality do not merge, or they are diametrically opposite areas. But I look at it this way, and I think that's the fact behind. You have a coin, and there are two sides to a coin. Can you ever make a coin which is just one sided?
No.
Just because the two sides face opposite directions does not mean they oppose each other, right? There are viewpoints which are different, or the perspective with which a particular viewpoint is expressed is different. And in fact, very many times I have found in my experience what spirituality or customary practices, tradition talk about is the same that science expresses with some kind of jargon and technical terms. It is the sense of reasoning that binds both of them, especially if you take Indian spirituality. Ancient Indian wisdom is something that questions everything.
Right.
Same way, science questions. The questioning attitude or the attitude of trying to seek a reason behind is the same for both. And many of our practices, especially from the Indian subcontinent, we find many of our practices have a lot of reasoning behind, have been developed primarily on a cause-effective structure, and that leads ultimately to what we call a scientific attitude. So I don't find a difference.
But the answers that we get from it, from spirituality, the answers you get are more, they're not defined really, you could say.
I would not say so. I would not blame spirituality or spiritual practices for that. I would only say, like some of us have not trained ourselves to look at the answer the right way. We have not updated ourselves with the sense of reasoning. And probably we find ourselves at a loss when we need to explain these things to our younger generation or the children at home. I'll tell you, for example, the simplest thing. There's a custom in India that we normally eat over a banana leaf, right?
Yes.
You spread a banana leaf and then serve.
Correct.
I do not know if you belong to that generation, but then when we were young, we were kind of told how to serve on a banana leaf.
Yes.
Not only what to serve, but then how to serve, what should be placed where.
There's an order and the
the order in which it should be placed and the order in which it should be, the kind of sequence in which it should be served. Leave alone the sequence also. The general habit is you should have the narrower portion of the banana leaf to the left of the individual
Yes.
and the broader portion to the right of the individual. Okay. And then items which are eaten in larger quantities, like rice
Go in the
and so
center.
on, that would be in the center and
Lower.
the part which is closer to the individual.
Okay.
And then you have the vegetables on the other side.
Yes.
You have the salt and the pickle.
Yes.
Now you think this is all blind?
Probably
There's a
not.
lot of sense of reasoning in this. Most of us are right handed.
Correct.
Okay. So let me give you two aspects. The first aspect is how it fits the individual. We are right handed. And when we eat, we tend to eat portions which need to be taken in larger quantities. Those are kept on the right side on easy reach. Just imagine this was not a dining table culture. This was sitting down, cross legged, and eating. When you're cross legged and when you need to stretch your hand and take the pickle or the salt, it's a little difficult. So, twice or thrice, beyond that, you wouldn't go. So, things which need to be eaten in large quantities were kept closer to your hand. So much of sense of reasoning prevails in the way it was sequenced. Now, come to the other side of it, the banana leaf itself. Have you seen the banana leaf unfurl itself in the tree? Now, if you notice, as it unfurls in the tree, it is this portion which is closer to me that will come out first.
Correct.
And it gets exposed to sunlight. We are a tropical country. And I do not know if you notice, earlier times when we packed food for a day or two,
We usually
traveling,
put that.
we would kind of, what we'll do, we'll take that leaf and show it in little fire, make it a little warm so that it thickens. Now, the portion that unfurls out first will be a little thicker than the portion which is inside.
Correct.
So that will withstand only smaller things like, one heap of poriyal or one heap of kootu. But then this will withstand one heap of rice, which will have larger quantity and higher weight also. Right? So all these had some sense of reasoning. But then we lost the habit of eating on a plantain leaf. So we've lost the sense of, the reasons which went behind. I'm just citing the simplest of the simple examples. But then if you tend to go deeper and deeper, you find there are lots of areas where there's a cost-effective relationship. What you can call a skia. Skia is the root for science. The knowledge behind or the reasoning behind many things. We only need to keep our eyes awake.
So have we lost a lot of this culture because we don't one reason ourselves for why we did this, or also maybe our ancestors didn't give us that answers that we were probably looking for?
We didn't look for answers, or ancestors did not give us the answers. All these probably happened during the colonial rule. Slowly, somewhere from the 14th, 15th century, there were lots of mixing, admixture, invasions. Many cultures came together, but then, even then, we did not lose all this. Not 13th, 14th century. Later, colonial rule, we were probably deliberately made to forget all this. Unless I regard something great, I would not care for it.
Correct.
I leave this. At the close of this interview, I leave it in your office and go away. If this is going to be expensive, I would call you from somewhere and then say, please keep it safe, I want it.
Yes.
If it's something, a small piece of paper, I would only say, even if you call me and tell me you've left something, throw it into the bin. So unless I have a sense of belonging, unless I have a sense of pride in what I have, I would not want to keep it, protect it, preserve it. What happened during the colonial rule was we were somehow brainwashed. When I say we, I mean all in general, our fathers, grandfathers, everyone,
Yes.
we were generally made to kind of think whatever is Indian is wrong.
Correct.
Whatever is Indian culture is rubbish. So this had to go away from us. If you can think back, post independence, the generation that was probably in the colleges and in the educational institutions post independence wanted to have a kind of a Western education, and was given to the feeling that everything Western is the best, English speaking. If you say the same thing in English, it was regarded. I remember, I had been a speaker from my college days, and I remember even in the local regional language events, people would quote someone from the West. And if you really do not know who the person is, it was customary to say, a scholar, a Western scholar said so. And once this was there, the Western scholar, that made the day. Like people thought, fine, if a Western scholar had said, it's agreeable, it's something great. If an Indian person had said, we always said, no, 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 this is all rubbish, this is all, ganda hai, this is all param panjangam, like that, it was discarded. That is the reason.
Okay.
It needs that we rejuvenate ourselves.
Okay. But I think many of that things are coming back, because I think that pride is coming back.
Yes.
Okay.
That's a nice trend, and happy to note that too.
Yes. So, ma'am, let me go to a different question right now. NEET. NEET has been a burning question, but you are a teacher, right? I mean, I think one of the things that you really enjoy doing is teaching. So, from that perspective, do you think NEET is a pressure on the children, or do you think that will yield better doctors? Um, so, what do you think is really
Okay, I get what you're trying to say.
Right.
I would not immediately go into NEET. I have been teaching medical students for about 35 plus years, sometime from 1984. There was a time when there was no entrance examination.
Correct.
When we were all students, there were batches which came from interview. There was nothing called an entrance examination. People had to apply, and then the applicants were called for an interview. An interview panel would sit and then bombard them with questions, and they had to answer. The complaint about interview system was people can be subjective, and since they knew the candidate, the face of the candidate, they kind of yielded to pressure and recommendations and things so on.
Yes.
Right. Then came the entrance examination system. I had worked in the Anna University as part of the Tamil Nadu Professional College Entrance Examination team, and we used to do so many checks and sub checks and all that. But somewhere down the line, people thought this entrance examination was a pressure on children, and subsequently the Ananthakrishnan committee said there's no need for an entrance examination, and we would go for the marks of the qualifying examination itself. So then came the system where there was no entrance but marks of the qualifying examination. The entrance was thought to be a pressure because people need to train themselves a little differently from the way they answer in the qualifying examination. Qualifying examination will have a paragraph question or a long question or an essay question, something we call that way. And this is entrance is more of objective.
Okay.
So they said people need more training, which is not required, which is not possible by the rural children. That's what the Ananthakrishnan Committee's essential report was. Rural children will not be able to fare well because they're not trained to answer multiple choice questions and all that. Then came the qualifying examination. But what was the problem in the qualifying examination was, we found after some time, there were certain schools where day in and day out, they were tutored only to write the answers.
Yes.
And during the examination, these children were fed with the answers also. All kinds of complaints creeped in.
Mm.
And you could notice at that time, people would draw them, the parents would draw them from the schools they were studying in and put them into these so-called, special areas or schools wherein they were specifically trained to answer the qualifying examination.
Correct.
Now again, whatever you say, that was again a training, right?
Mm.
A special training to answer, how to answer your questions. And then came NEET, because NEET came in primarily because they wanted to make it a kind of a uniform structure, not separate selection criteria in different states of the country. Since the medical curriculum is uniform throughout the country, there has to be a common platform where all of them can compete together, instead of JIPMER having a separate exam, Vellore CMC having a separate exam. I remember when I was trying for medicine, I used to kind of, many of us used to hop,
Travel
skip,
to
and
write
jump.
exam.
We'll go here, write the exam, and go there, write the exam. So this should be avoided, and kind of, they made a common platform. Now, all these are systems. It is not that one is individually better and one is individually wrong or anything. All these are some kind of filtering mechanism.
Correct.
A filtration mechanism. When you have 1 lakh seats and there are 20 lakh aspirants, you need to have a filtration, and the filtering mechanism has been designed. Now, there can be disadvantages in certain filtering mechanisms. In the sense, if it is an entrance examination, be it NEET or a state entrance examination, the children are generally not trained to write the answers which are the answers required in the entrance exam. Your entrance exam is a separate style. Even for IAS, you have an aptitude test, you have an objective test.
Yes.
So children need to be trained to write that way. What they write in the qualifying examination is not that style. So if you have a filtration mechanism, there needs a separate way of training. What I mean is, even if you have an interview, now I'll turn the plate and ask you, you have an interview in the administrative examination or your UPSC exams, there is a component called interview.
Yes.
Now, how does someone gets the mileage for these interviews? They attend a coaching class.
Yes.
They
have
attend mock
courses.
interviews.
Yes.
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 So a training mechanism comes in there.
Some sort of an analysis.
Some
to say,
kind of
yeah.
a training mechanism.
Yes.
Call it by whatever name you want.
Yes.
It is a training mechanism where you make the person go through that rigor.
Which is very much required
Yes,
too.
go through the drill.
Yes.
So the same thing is what happens in NEET or any entrance examination.
Correct.
But you cannot kind of do away with a system. You cannot do away with the filtration mechanism.
Correct.
You need a filtration mechanism.
Exactly.
The entire problem comes in when the coaching centers start demanding many things, or when the coaching centers kind of, in the competition amongst the coaching centers, you're trying to say, like, if I attend this coaching center, I will be able to get the seat, and the value for that coaching keeps going up.
Correct.
That is where all the problem comes. And the other problem is, people somehow want to get a seat, right?
Yes.
And if I want a seat, I'm prepared to do whatever I want. Now, where is the fault? The fault is with me, or the fault is with the system? The fault is with me. After all these are men-made system, right? And bring in any system. That's why I trace the history. You bring in any system, there will be someone, there will be at least 5 to 10% of people who will try to break the rules of that system and do something else to get their advantage.
Yes.
The best would be, if there is any system, the best would be to kind of make more checks and balances. See to that no pilferage happens. No question paper leak happens. I think every university, every college, every school is always careful about question paper leaks. Even in the ordinary examination, there can be question paper leaks. So, can we do away with the examinations? Just
No.
because there is a question paper leak somewhere, can we do away with the system of examinations? We cannot. So, NEET, the kind of opposition for NEET predominantly is that some of these checks and balances have not been properly laid. Number two, coaching centers are playing a major role. Number three, many of the rural children do not have the power and means to approach the coaching centers. They are not in a position to get the coaching.
For the coaching centers, if whatever the coaching center is doing is embedded in the school curriculum,
Exactly.
it will take care of your second two problems.
Exactly. You have the answer. If the school curriculum trains the child to look from multiple perspectives. See, after all, I had been an MCQ question setter. And I had set questions for the fellowship programs. The MCQs for fellowship programs are slightly different. We tweak the same information.
Yes.
We tweak the information in such a way that the candidate will not have a direct answer.
Yes.
Okay? This is followed everywhere.
Yes.
So, if only we teach our children at the school level to look at it from different angles and different perspectives. Not just memorize the matter from wrapper to wrapper and score marks on that, but then look at the concept, understand the concept. Once you understand the concept, you can answer whichever way the question is taken. So all this needs to go into the school curriculum. Now today you and me are talking about NEET. We are in 2024. 2025, 26, whatever system comes, the competition level is going to be more and more.
Yes.
So we need to have a permanent solution. One permanent solution is what you rightly said, make the student understand the concept.
Yes.
So that has to be brought into the curriculum. Short-term measures, you want coaching centers, make it a corporate social responsibility for some of the big business houses to run coaching centers in schools which are in rural areas, schools which are in downtrodden areas. Make it a CSR responsibility.
Yes.
I'm not saying NEET is the only answer. I'm trying to tell you, whatever answer you seek, there will be man-made problems. And we need to foresee these problems and try and make the system, the school education system or the education system stronger so that whatever is the assault, we'll be able to rise up.
What you just told me, you gave me a new realization that MCQs are actually a way to eliminate the question answer types where they can judge the student in a different angle.
Yes.
That's
See, plain MCQs. There are different ways of setting the same MCQ. MCQ is the simplest of the objective type of questions. And very many times in the medical area, we kind of train them. Your choice should be only this kind. Many times
elimination process.
I'll give you one example. In MCQs, one of the choices sometimes will be all of the above. You can never have a choice which says all of the above. You should never have a choice which says none of the above. These are all set MCQ setting patterns. And apart from that, your objective questions need not be only MCQ based. There can be other type of questions. There used to be a joke where, people said like, someone had been repeatedly going for all these job interviews and many of these entrance examinations and all that. So when one interview happened and this person went, the person who was doing the interview kind of asked the candidate, "What is your name?" And immediately the candidate blurted, "Can you give me choices?" You get so tuned to that. A, B, C, D. Okay, A, B, C, D, short boot 3, A, B, C, D. Not that way. So it is that a kind of a comprehensive understanding will have to be brought.
Okay, that's a very good eye opener, actually, and you put it out very beautifully, ma'am. So let me go into the next problematic area that I see we are all facing in today's world: drug usage. I guess when we were younger, when we were in schools, colleges, the one main thing that we were told was stay away from alcohol. So now we've gone a step up, and as parents now, we are thinking about, okay, how do I make sure my kid doesn't fall into the drug usage? Because it's really in many schools. I think we've all have some encounter of stories where schools have it nearby or outside. Colleges also have had their share of stories. But what is really causing this evolvement? And is there any way we can control it?
That's a very sad area that we are touching.
Hmm.
It's true that more and more of children get into some kind of habit which causes addiction, some kind of drug usage, and that's ruining their not only their health but their
Career,
entire
life.
life.
Yes.
Uh, you started saying that as children you were all told to stay away from alcohol.
Yes.
Okay, so there was a time in the society when alcohol was thought to be something which should not be out in the open and cannot be made social.
Yes.
But today, please tell me, there are parents who celebrate the birthday of their 2 year old daughter with a cocktail party.
True. Yes, it is out there.
So, when we were children, we could not even pronounce the word alcohol. If by chance any of our elders caught us saying that word, we had it,
Yes, agreed.
right? But things have changed. We've given a kind of a social recognition. And when we start saying, like, okay, in a party you can have it.
Hmm.
I remember one of my professors in medical college used to say, like, we used to have classification. Are you a drinker?
Hmm.
And people will say yes, no, social drinker.
Hmm.
He kind of, used to tease those days itself. He'll say, what is the social drinker?
So yes or no?
Right, yes or no? You cannot have a social drinker, which means, in a party I'll do that, but then I'll not drink separately. Like social drinker, what is the periodicity?
Hmm.
So once we've started giving some kind of a social recognition for certain things which are not required,
Hmm.
the trend changed, right?
Hmm.
And
Yes.
then now we have drugs and so many things. You're right. I also heard that there are lots of schools and colleges where the children unknowingly get into this. Now, one major reason I would say is a kind of internal loneliness that many of these people experience.
Hmm.
And I would not blame parents for that, because there's another side to it. When people say parents are not able to spend time with children, and that causes the loneliness. There are things which have changed. The joint family system is gone. Those days when the child went back home, there was someone at home to look after. Now no one is there, and the child is free to do whatever he or she wants. And there's so much of peer pressure, so much of social media pressure. Even in the med school, I know people used to come and tell me, the parents will tell me, we do not even know what's happening because my daughter has come into the med school. So she says, my room is my room, don't get into the room. And she's locking the room, and the whole night through the lights are on. So we don't know what's happening.
Hmm.
Now, this has become almost everywhere. It requires for people to understand that spending quality time with the children does not mean buying everything that they want.
Agreed.
Now, money is very rampantly available even with children. I find third year, fourth year children coming with a cell phone,
Yes.
wanting to travel by a separate conveyance in the evening. So they say, I need to book my taxi, so I'm bringing the cell phone. Now, I think somewhere down the line, parents will have to realize their responsibility. Buying everything Giving them everything that money can give is not parental care. Parental care need not be trying to get them everything. You can tell them affordability is not a reason for buying something. You can tell them, no, this is not required. You spend time with them. Peer pressure. Come back from the office and spend time. Does not mean quality time needs to be like, you need to sit with them for 2 hours or 3 hours like that. And parents will have to be role models. Parents cannot go to a cocktail party and then come back and tell the child, no, don't go to this, don't use this. Stack up, if you stack up something in your refrigerator, stack up a mini bar in the refrigerator, you cannot chide the child.
Right.
And the other thing that is also happening, I heard, is socially, the drug traffickers are using the children as, their routes to transmit. The small child will not know. Just tip the child. Just give 50 rupees. You can buy your chips packet. The child will not know. Mummy did not give me 50 rupees today, and this uncle is giving me. All that he says is, take this packet from here and leave it there. Some Anna will come and take it. So the child will not know. There again, we have been training children saying that if you have the means to buy something, you're greater. Where is this requirement for 50 rupees comes?
When we were younger, we also had this moral studies, moral science, right? That told us all
That
these
needs to come into the
studies.
curriculum.
Yeah, that seems to have been lost. Not all schools really.
Values have not been put in, and teachers say that they don't have the time for moral science. Now, I think this is one problem which does not have a singular solution. The teachers, the parents, the elders, the state, the schools, everyone has to sit down, think of this problem, and probably handle it in such a way that we save our children. It is not that, you write a law. The state cannot just write a law and say, yes, today it is banned. If it is banned also, when you ban something, it is done underground. So it is not mere banning or mere having the rule that matters. Okay, the rule is enacted. The enacting authority will say the rule is enacted. Yes, it is enacted. You mean to say the teachers or the school management will openly allow this? They don't even know. This is done underground. Children are
But even if the management knows about it, do you think they will actually openly agree to it happening in their
There are two
grounds?
things. Management will not be in a position to openly agree.
Correct.
That will bring down the reputation of the school. But the management will be taking steps. They will be taking steps to ensure that this does not happen.
Agree.
Teachers will be taking steps to ensure that this does not happen. But this will not happen under the nose of the management or the teachers. It will happen in hiding.
Okay.
So who will come and tell this? Will that child who's today being the kind of a messenger to carry one packet from here to there, will that child come and say?
No.
That child would have been told, don't tell this out.
Yes.
And for fear of getting beaten or something, the child will not say. And after falling a prey, by then it will be too late. So it is not that somebody wants this to happen. All these authorities don't want this to happen. The teachers don't want it. The parents don't want it. The state does not want it. The managements don't want it. But who is to bell the cat is the question. It requires that all of them sit down together and decide.
But we are certainly not there yet. We have to.
We probably have to start.
Yes.
If we think we can start, everyone has to start right away. And primary thing is where, what you said, put in values into the mind.
Yes.
Put in some kind of values right from the beginning. Don't go for this. This is bad. I remember there was a study some about 20 years ago. The study very clearly said mothers who use regularly nail polish, they leave the nail polish on the dressing table. The study came from the West, not India. They leave the nail polish on the dressing table and the child goes there and smells the polish, slowly gets addicted to the turpentine smell in it, and starts loving that smell, those are the children who will become addicts later on.
Oh, wow.
So this is something like, very tricky. We need to think of all this. The way we carry ourselves will be an indirect lesson, a hidden lesson for the youngsters. So somewhere up the line it has to start and then percolate down.
Wow, that lots of thought-provoking things, ma'am. Really, it was a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much for all those insights, and hopefully we'll get your time again sometime later down the road. For now, thanks a lot.
Thank you very much. It's an honor to be here, and I wish something that we spoke today is taken into execution.
Truly, ma'am, I do too as well. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching Chanakya English. Stay tuned for more such discussions.